Welcome to the Accu-Trade Video Podcast. This week, Bob explains why he chose Cars.com as the best home for what he built.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Vindo with Robert Hollenshead. All right, Bob, we're going to dive right into it. We all saw the what came across the wire over the past couple of days, the acquisition of Accu-Trade by Cars.com. So let me do a little Q&A if you could. So why Cars.com? And I know you're always interested in figuring out how we can best help the industry. So how does a Cars.com partnership help others?
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff behind that, Shonny, and I hope we don't bore people to death with the details. But when you have a tool that actually is built specifically to be agnostic, in other words, to help consumers, but dealers, obviously primarily dealers, to communicate better with consumers, you can't really put it into a funnel. You can't put it into a PVC pipe. That means it has to be an agnostic entity, someone who is basically open and available without any kind of special interest to any particular brand or like franchise or whatever, right? So that's kind of like a limited thing. Steve DeMedicis years ago, the guy that started AutoCheck, said to me when we were standing at probably 20 something years ago, standing at NADA, he says, all these vendors are everywhere. They're all over the place. But we're the only product that actually sits on top of everybody in this building, and it's true because it's agnostic and inclusive, and it has all it's AutoCheck. They get all auction data. They're best friends with NAAA auctions and dealers actually. So it's a weird thing. So when you look at things like that, that's always stuck with me. When you look at things like that, once you associate with a franchise or a brand or you're taking sides like. In the society we live in today, everybody has to take sides about everything. Where you fart, you have to take a side. You know what I mean? It's like insanity. But when you build a product with an altruist background in terms of what are the problems that face us as an industry, and what would we do to, we can all sit and piss in your soup about what I say, what are you going to do to fix those problems? What are you going to do? Sit and worry about it, or are you going to fix them? And as we aggregated all of the solutions of my 50-year career in the industry, right? In other words, when we look at this and that and the other thing, there's a lot of really dumb, simple things that have never been addressed. And there's a lot of reasons for it, right? It can be branding. It can be one group that has certain, stakes in the ground about one thing and another one someplace else, and they got their own stakes, and nobody's going to say, well, we'll do this, but that'll hurt. And you can't do that. That's not an agnostic entity. That's a brand specific, what I call an egocentric PVC pipe, right? And it's not their problem. It's they're in business. They're trying to make a profit. They're trying to get market share. Here's my feeling. When you look left and right, up and down, everybody has certain characteristics in their business model that start to lean you in one way or another, where you got to take sides. And from my perspective, the whole listing business, as we all know, is not flourishing, right? When you look at all the other listing platforms, there's nobody that's saying, well, we dominate the world. Chip Perry did that. And that's now over because of 100 different reasons. Their dealers aren't forced to use one thing or another because they have all kinds of different options. I guess in the industry that we're in, buying, selling, trading, pricing, guaranteeing, transparency and all the rest of it, right? There isn't like an agnostic purveyor. So as I'm building this over the past 15 years or whatever it is, and adding things and doing things, and, we're in the business of like creating solutions, not necessarily marketing solutions. It's not our we do market things, or we market wholesale cars every Friday. I'll have 800 there again tomorrow. So that's where our pedigree comes from. That's where our skin in the game perspective comes from. It's not because we went to Harvard Business School. No disrespect to folks that do that. And then you're going to come and get an idea and teach us all how to do things. No disrespect whatsoever. I believe what I've committed ourselves to and spent like a huge amount of our time and effort doing is building things, what you would call FUBU, for us, by us, for dealers, buy dealers. You follow me? Not something different. Not based on, I got a job here and I'm going to show you with business development. We'll go shove this down a dealer's throat. I have no interest in it. I don't know, years ago, you're probably too young to remember it, but there was a commercial that has always stuck with me. And it was, whatever it was like, we're not here to make paint. We're here to make paint brighter. We're not here to build cars. We're to make cars better. We're not here to dominate in any particular way, shape, or form anybody's business model. We're here to make it better. Better communication, better data, better going one or two steps further with science. In other words, in integrating an OBD into the process. There's not a human being on earth with a dealer's license who could say, wow, that's a stupid idea. That's why we got a patent for it, because patents are worthless. I've never seen anybody actually enforce a patent. Just look at simulcast. When Nancy had it taken and she sued, she won, but she lost because she won such a little amount of money. She lost. So patents are unenforceable nonsense, except you put the stake in the ground saying, here's a process that's really built to create better communication. One, consumer who never lies, buyers never lie. We know that, right? They're no longer able to. A dealer who wants to steal is no longer able to. But more importantly, they're no longer allowed to weld themselves into cars. They're not allowed to. I won't let them. And that's totally altruistic, right? You use our process and you won't be allowed to trade cars with a faulty catalytic converter system that looks and sounds perfectly fine. It's not going to pass, and it's going to cost you $3,500 to get it on the front line. It won't happen. First of all, customer wouldn't like it, already knows it, and they got it there to trade it just to see how stupid a car dealer, how hungry a car dealer is to make a car deal without even bringing the topic up. Once again, not to blow the deal up, but just to reveal we're no longer sucking lollipops at the end of the month trying to close the month and put 2 more scratches on the board, and we couldn't care less what it costs us to do that. We're not saying not to put the scratches up. We're saying our platform makes that little process shinier, brighter, easier. No different than the service drive. Exactly the same thing. No difference with your widget on the website, primarily because it requires more information that's verifiable when you finally get to a point where you're exchanging keys and a check, right? It's different. Now, the funniest part of this story is, you say, well, you're going to do this and you're going to, I'm not doing anything. First of all, I'm not going anyplace. Our guarantee has nothing to do with anybody else's guarantee. We're the only people stand behind whatever where the product set is. There's nobody else going to be silly enough to say, I'll take any car anywhere, no matter what the price is, based on the characteristics of the car. Here's a check. Start your engines. In other words, we're not saying we want to buy. I'll buy everyone. I couldn't care less. I don't want to ever buy one, but we want to give an ignition to a buyer and a seller to understand this is not fugazi. This is a check. It's real. Now, there's no reason to talk about less. You can only talk about where the buyer and the seller are happy to actually come together. Simultaneously, regardless of what anybody says, creating the best verifiable condition report with science included to be able to verify the facts necessary to create a car deal, wholesale or retail, without arbitration. Because we've already arbitrated it before it even came to the market, and then while it's in the market, and then while it goes to the next best end user, right? Regardless of what platform you use. Now stop and think about this. This is really, really difficult to get into people's brains. There's this product and that product in this marketplace and that marketplace. And here's the deal. I couldn't care less, because in every one of those circumstances, what I've built and now is in the guardianship of Cars.com, an agnostic provider, right? The basis of this is to enable anybody to get the benefit of it, not just the science of a condition report that's instant and verifiable, that actually also bifurcates as a bill of lading when you're doing transport. Amazing, isn't it? But if a deal, you can never tell a dealer what he's going to do. You tell a dealer what to do, he's doing the opposite no matter what happens. You're not changing somebody's behavior and their experience and their knowledge. Nobody, I don't care who anybody is, if you're a vendor, you're going to tell a dealer how you know more than they do. But you just jumped on a grenade. You lost. And I know it as well as anybody. The truth is, if you enable anybody that's going in to say how great their product is, and here's what it is, and you allow them to get all the benefits of what we built, if the dealer's a Accu-Trade dealer, they can push a car anywhere. They can push it to any marketplace that exists, and I'm happy to do that with a first bid. In other words, not searching and hoping that somebody's not banging it. No, of course not. So theoretically, who's in charge of the world in the automobile industry? It's not the consumer. It's a car dealer. He makes a decision when he's going to stock, how much he's going to ask, and what the process is going to be. We can all act like somebody else is in charge. Total and absolute nonsensical bull-ass, right? Now, think about this. When a dealer's trading a car, he's going to make a decision. You're going to keep it. You're going to wholesale it. What are you going to do with it? Of course, anybody knows everybody's going to wholesale everything, even if you're not the best end user for the car. Of course, that message is morphing at a relatively fast rate. Have no idea how that could be. However, especially in a descending market like we're in right now, where nobody really knows where the bottom's going to be, regardless of what any pontificator's talking about with, flashing news. It looks like prices have gone down last week at auction. Comical, isn't it? At 30% conversion rate on $40,000 cars. Comical as far as I'm concerned. Separate issue altogether. Anybody can take advantage of what we've actually built. And a dealer, the one person that's in charge in the world, decides where they want to sell their cars. They decide. Nobody else decides that. They make that decision. Nobody can dictate what that's going to be. You make a good deal with somebody, and you're probably going to send your cars there, as long as it works for you. See, but the process of actually getting to a point where you're going to remarket a car is completely unaddressed, and that's exactly what we're focused on, what we've always been focused on. And the concept that somehow we're competitive to anybody is a complete and absolute total brain fart. It just means you haven't thought about things from the beginning, straight through where the guy in charge makes the decision what they're going to do with their little piece of merch, that 17-digit VIN, which direction it's going. This is really basically why, to answer your question in 7,000 words or less, why I chose to join hands with cars. That's a reason. I think it's a good reason, Shawnee. The second reason is I spent a couple minutes with the people that run their business units. One being Joe Chura. We're not best friends for life. We ain't breaking bread every day at some mountain he's climbing or something. But I can tell you this. The guy's character is really obvious. His demeanor and his, I would say, this is not, like a post-close glory story that we're now best friends for life or something. It's not the issue. The attitude of the people that run the company, I think they mesh with my nonsensical but absolutely dedication goal of creating platforms that are actually useful for car dealers, therefore good for consumers, therefore good for all marketplaces to get whatever they want. Easier, faster, smoother. In other words, verified facts, not fiction, not relationships based on platform process. You see what I'm saying? And for that reason, I have full hopes, and I would say hopefully they're not delusions. I believe they're going to come to fruition. Belief that every dealer in the United States and Canada, whether they're a new car franchise dealer or not, whether they're Fisker or they're Kia, I really don't care. I believe we have solutions for an incredibly stupid low value or price, unbelievable functionality at many different levels, not just the PVC pipe. Oh, you're a widget on a website. Oh, you're no. Oh, you're a lead provider from court. No, that's one of the things. You're right. And a widget, you're right. And a process in a showroom, you're right. And an OBD integration, you're right. And a service drive, you're right. And the ability to push to any marketplace, you're absolutely correct. Yes, you're right. Now tell me what other platform enables all of the above. Oh, wait, with one small caveat. It's guaranteed. Just don't be a liar. I'm a buyer. See, that little ignition can easily be overtalked or overlooked. But the fact is, it's got a little bit more bang to it than the verbiage. Does that make sense to you, Sean? That exactly is why the dust is still settling. So we'll see how things shake out. But I have got no indication that this is not a very interesting little thing. And I believe they stand to gain algebraically from what we agreed to do this for. And as a result, we're going to find out. Talk is really cheap and easy. Our experience after a few of these little transactions is I got a little different perspective on things, from a marketing standpoint, from, actually seeing how the impact of this can be. I see it a little bit differently, and hopefully, it turns out to be the way we anticipate. I believe it will, to be perfectly frank with you. Mm-hmm.
Well,
oh, by the way, we're still doing, just so you understand, TrueCar's digital retail it's still going to have a guaranteed trade-in value with it, because I remain as the backer of the values that pop out of when you go to TrueCar for your digital retail experience. 100%, we're the people that are on the backside of that. It's not like a hocus pocus thing that we disappeared. No, definitely not. We support TrueCar and their TrueCar online buying platform as far as the evaluation of the trade-in. Nothing's changing there. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but that's a fact.
Well, there's a pile of dealers that use it. So when I first met you, 6-7 years ago, whatever it is now, Bob, you talked about commoditizing the VIN, and I think this is a big step forward to doing just that. So I think it's great.
Yeah, Shawnee, I'd stop pounding that because people scratch their ass and say, well, what's that mean? He's talking about commoditizing a VIN. It really is as simple as pie. It's kind of like why I like it being from Chicago at the moment. In other words, it's where the commodities market is. It happens to be a VIN is a commodity, regardless of what you say, right? The only difference is each one of them is completely unique. And when you actually have set a market value on it based on its characteristics and put a price on that, you've really set a market value for that commodity where a buyer and a seller have a clarity in terms of where their negotiations are going. We level set, a nitwit trying to buy something for a quarter of the price, or somebody that's asking 8 times over market value. You see, it kind of like narrows down that communication gap. Does that make sense to you, Sean? It sure does to me.
Yes, sir. It sure does. Yep. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bob. And thank you for the update. Ronnie. We'll see everyone next week.
My pleasure. Have fun.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every week for a new episode where we chat with Bob Hollenshead, founder of Accu-Trade and the largest independent vehicle wholesaler in North America.